Remember, there's some pretty important information here in the disclaimer. You might want to give the video a quick pause and read it.
Oh, hey everybody, it's me, Sonic! Sonic the Hedgehog! Just here to remind you that if you haven't already, make sure to hit that like button. And for even more amazing customs, don't forget to subscribe to Wake Angel 2001! Because between you and me, they're way past cool!
Hello my friends, this is Wake Angel 2001 coming at you with a commission for Zack. My friend who gives me the hookup with all the action figures that I can't find in my area. He wanted an Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog style Dr. Robotnik. I kind of been thinking about making this character for years and years and years, but never got around to it until this guy told me. So, yeah, let's get into this. Interesting bit of trivia. This version of Dr. Robotnik was never called Dr. Eggman, since the cartoon was a purely American production, so never used a Japanese name, and it ended well before the American media adopted the name Eggman. However, there was one episode of the cartoon where he was called a big rotten egg in a parody comic, which basically cast him as Humpty Dumpty. Like, how did the poem go? Humpty Dumpty sat in the wall, Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. All the townspeople just laughed there and giggled as the rotten egg, as the old rotten egg just laid there and wiggled. And then, they had, the comic could talk, and the Robotnik Humpty Dumpty's line was, "Help, help, I've fallen and I can't get up." Yes, as I recall in that episode, Robotnik retaliated by kidnapping the artist, and I think he tried to get him to write propaganda comics or something that made him look good. And in the end, after his plans were foiled, he was left lying on the ground, and he's like, "Help! I've fallen and I can't get." And when he realized what he was about to say, he just started screaming, and his face turned red. Yes, good times. But yes, I do think that that's the only time that this version of Dr. Robotnik was ever brought up with the whole egg thing. Although, don't quote me on that. I haven't actually watched Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog since I was a kid. Although it is on Netflix. Theoretically, I could watch it. Maybe I should. What do you guys think? Should I watch the old Adventures of Sonic cartoon on Netflix and maybe do some episode by episode reviews on them? I still gotta do that for Sonic Prime now that I think about it. Anyway, I have talked long enough about Robotnik, so let's go ahead and make the toy itself. The base figure is Jack Jack. Big Jack Jack from Incredibles 2, how he could inflate his body and become this massive thing, with the giant head but small face. He kind of reminds me of Jack Horner, Big Jack Horner from Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. Removing that head, which was not an easy task, because the head is made out of a kind of plastic that's very hard and very tough. You can't simply pull it off because it won't soften when you heat it. I had to use the cutting tool in my Dremel, and I was terrified of sending another shard in my eye like I did last time. Fortunately, this didn't happen. But yes, after removing the head, you can see the body physique is actually really similar to the Adventures Robotnik. I mean, it's tall with short legs, and yeah, the arms are short because they're baby proportion, but once I put new hands on, that wouldn't be too big a difference. So sculpting on the figure was actually really light, just new shoes and those little bands that he has around his shoulders and elbows. And then came the 3D printing. These are models that Corey Sonic Fan provided me, but they were created by J.C. Thornton. First up are the hands. They're just good old-fashioned four-fingered cartoon hands, which I stuck onto little Jack Jack's hands by covering them in epoxy and then mushing them into the cone that was at the end of the glove. And with a repaint job, you have Dr. Robotnik's body. that big old costume. I kept the red part of the costume, but, just painted on every other color that wasn't red. Except for the shoes. They were the only part that had to be painted because they were the only part that was sculpted that had to be red. And I came up with a novel idea to attach the head to the body. You see, the head was big and hollow and went into the neck. So after cutting it off, there was still enough left over for there to be the moving neck joint. I filled this up with epoxy sculpt and then embedded a couple of bolts into it. Two, so that there could be like a double anchoring point. So when I had the head prepared, I drilled 2 corresponding holes into the head and stuck them onto these bolts, and now you can turn the head and it'll turn with the original neck joint. So speaking of that head, J.C. Thornton, you made a really good model. This was by no means a slow print, a fast print job. It took 16 hours for this print to render, and Corey had to try 3 times to modify the model to be printable. So, Corey didn't just take the model from somewhere. He actually put real work and elbow grease into making this model printable for me. And it took a long time for me to print it out, and then I had to do a little bit of sculpting on the end of the mustache where the print came out a little bit frayed. But in the end, we got a big old head, which fortunately was the proper size for the body. I would have been so pissed off if I turned out to have accidentally made it the wrong size. But yes, with a paint job to get that vibrant orange mustache, the creepy black sclera with the red eyes, and of course his charmingly pink little nose, which I kind of feel like they did a little bit of this looks a little bit like if Mario was like a really angry ginger. Was that intentional? Did they intentionally make Sonic's nemesis have just a slight resemblance to Mario? I don't know. I don't know. Everything else is different about it, so I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt. Besides, Mario doesn't have the rosacea on his nose that Dr. Robotnik has. But yes, that is the Robotnik figure. He is a big boy. This is actually one of the largest Sonic figures I've ever made. It is a full 8 inches tall. The only other 8-inch Sonic figure that I've ever made before was the Superposer Shard, and the only other figures I've ever made that are actually bigger than this are the Death Egg robots. So yeah, this is the biggest Sonic character I've ever made that is not a robot. However, if you look at the Adventures of Sonic characters, I think, assuming you make a classic Sonic figure that's 4 inches tall, I think it's kind of in scale. Within the fudge factor of action figure scaling, Adventures of Sonic is about half as tall as Robotnik. So, yeah, for a 4-inch Sonic figure, an 8-inch Dr. Robotnik would actually work. In fact, here are my Deke, Sonic, and Tails standing next to him, looking about right. Maybe he's a little bit too tall, but not by much. This totally works as action figure scale. And for a little bit of extra context for all you guys out there, here is Dr. Robotnik standing next to Mr. Dr. Eggman, so that you have context on him standing next to an official figure, the biggest Robotnik that you can actually get on market today. For the record, Mr. Dr. Eggman is about 5.5 inches tall. If you measure to the very, very tip of his hair, you can barely make it to 6 inches. So that's just giving you a little bit of context here. And that is the rotten egg, who will just lie there and wiggle as we put this video out. Thank you all for watching today. I'm really glad to have finally gotten this character out. It's been a long, long time. So, this is Wake Angel 2001, signing off.